This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Good morning and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Monday, February 28. In Squiz Kids Today, rain bomb explodes over Queensland. Kiev teeters as Russians advance. Calling all Aussie astronauts. And the magpies that outsmarted the scientists. That's what's making news, kids style.
The Lowdown.
Half a year's worth of rain has been dumped on Brisbane in a matter of days over the weekend, as a rain bomb exploded over the southeast corner of Queensland, causing widespread flooding. Hundreds of homes, shops and factories have already been flooded, and some 1,000 homeowners in the Queensland capital are expected to wake this morning to find their house has also gone under, as the city experiences the worst flooding in more than a decade. Schools will be closed today across large parts of Queensland as Brisbane nervously awaits this morning's 7 a.m. high tide to see just how high the floodwaters will go. Some places have had more than a metre of rainfall over the past couple of days. For context, Melbourne gets about a total of 700 millimetres or 70 centimetres in an entire year. Gympie, a town 3 hours north of Brisbane, experienced its worst flood in 100 years as the Mary River reached a peak of 23 metres. The town of Maryborough is today bracing as the water moves downstream towards it. As the Brisbane River broke its banks and entire ferry jetties in the city were smashed apart by floating debris, Brisbaneites watched on nervously as the dam on the city's outskirts filled at an astonishing speed. At only 58% capacity on Thursday, it had last night reached 180% capacity, with dam engineers confirming 200% capacity as the point at which the dam walls could begin to weaken. The rain bomb is thanks to a weather system that has sat stubbornly above the southeast corner of Queensland and refused to move. Weather forecasters have predicted the rains will ease today. Fingers and toes crossed.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've taken the element of chance out of the globe spin and stopped it in Ukraine, because the situation that is unfolding there is too important to ignore. Missiles were fired and explosions rocked Kiev over the weekend as Russian troops moved in on Ukraine's historic capital city. As residents there prepared to take on the advancing army, more than 150,000 Ukrainians crossed into the neighbouring country of Poland, hoping to escape the violence. The eyes of the world will be on the city of Kiev today as the battle rages for control of a city under siege.
Spaced out.
Okay, so I think it's time for some good news now. Calling all astronauts. If you've ever dreamed of blasting off into outer space, the Australian government has just committed millions of dollars to make that dream come true for Aussie kids just like you. They've announced that they're putting more than $30 million towards getting Australian astronauts up into space. And another 30-odd million will go towards developing up to 3 new spaceports or launch sites here in Australia. The idea is to attract space companies to launch their rockets from Australia, which will help Aussie businesses test their products in space and develop homegrown astronauts too. How cool is that? The last Aussie astronaut was Andy Thomas from Adelaide, who had to take up American citizenship to join NASA and fulfill his dream of going into space. But now, if you have the skills and ambition to become an astronaut, the door has opened to do that right here in Australia.
Animal Kingdom.
A bunch of magpies involved in a science experiment have outsmarted the humans researching them by working together to remove the tracking devices that had been attached to them. 5 birds were fitted with a tracking device, which researchers hoped would help them paint a picture of how far the birds travelled, how and if they interacted with one another, and which birds were dominant in the group. Except the Maggies were having none of it, and promptly removed the tracking belts soon after they had been fitted, despite the fact the belts were built to only be released using a special magnet. What a bunch of clever birds. It's the first time bird watchers have observed magpies helping each other out without the prospect of any immediate reward. It's what's called altruism, doing something for the good of it without expecting anything in return. And it's about the nicest quality anyone or any bird can have.
Q&A call out.
You've heard of the Bad Guys books, right? Mr. Shark, Mr. Wolf, Mr. Piranha, and Mr. Snake. A bunch of guys who are good on the inside, despite their bad guy exterior. Then what you might also know is that the Bad Guys books are written by one especially cool good guy, an Aussie Kids author by the name of Aaron Blabey. And to kick off this year's series of Squiz Kids Q&As, Aaron has agreed to answer all the curly questions you can throw at him. To mark the occasion of the upcoming Bad Guys movie, coming soon to a cinema near you, Aaron will be our next special guest in the Q&A hot seat. And we've got 10 family passes to the movie to give away to the kids who send in the 10 best questions. How cool is that? So, get your thinking caps on. Start thinking about what sorts of questions you'd want to ask the man who created Mr. Shark and Mr. Snake, the man who has now sold more than 2.5 million books around the world, and who now gets to see those characters he dreamed up in a Hollywood movie on the big screen. Send your questions for Aaron to squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. But don't wait too long, you've only got a week. And meanwhile, check out a couple of video links in today's episode notes, including the new cool movie trailer.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What sort of birds have outsmarted university researchers by removing their tracking devices? That's right, they're magpies. Question number 2. What's the name of the children's book series by Aussie author Aaron Blabey, subject of our next Q&A? Yeah, that's right, it's Bad Guys. Question number 3. Which state has been smashed over the weekend by a rain bomb? You got it, it's Queensland.
Shout outs.
It's February 28, last day of the month, and it's also International Sword Swallowers Day, which is apparently a thing, but not a thing that you should try at home. It's also a special day for these Squiz kids celebrating a birthday today. Jude from Wollongong, Gus from Mossman, Jacques from Mount Eliza, Sophia from Abbotsford, Charlie from Burnside, and Harrison from Thornside. And a belated birthday wish to Jasper from Mount Gravatt. And classroom shout-outs go to 6M at Croydon Park Public School, Class 5 Red and Mrs. Weir at St Agnes Catholic Primary School in Mount Gravatt, and Class 4G at Kana Catholic Primary School in Hillside, and belated birthday wishes to their teacher, Mr. Greeley. And a special shout-out to Ms. Black and Stage 3 at Woongarra Public School, and Miss Perryman at Trinity Catholic School in Murrumburra, who have both recently become full members of Squiz Kids for Schools. Welcome aboard. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout-out, or if you're after a classroom shout-out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.